Hey folks, I'm Stephanie, 23, female. Today I've got a story that still sends shivers down my spine when I think about it. You know, the kind that makes you reevaluate your entire life? Yeah, that's what we're getting into here. For parts of my life that I can remember, I would always say that I had a pretty normal family life. Things were great apart from the divorce between my parents. We were well fed, we were taken care of, and honestly, I couldn't complain too much. But looking back at it now and knowing what I know now, I should have seen the warning signs sooner. Although things were good, I could say it was a bit hectic, living two different lives in two different countries because of the divorce. My brother, Emil, 27, male, bounced between Germany and the good old US of A, and Dad lived in the States and Mom held it down in Germany. The turning point came when Mom got seriously sick. Life as we knew it was about to change forever. We had to pack our bags and head to the States full time. I was 14 at the time, Emil 18, and let's just say emotions were running high. Adapting to life in the US was a mixed bag for both of us. Me, I handled it okay, but Emil, not so much. He harbored this deep-seated hatred for Dad. Blamed him for the family falling apart, for Mom's illness, the whole shebang. Emil had this knack for weaving this narrative that painted Dad as the villain in our story. I'd hear him out and nod in agreement, not realizing the dangerous path this was leading us down. Steph, seriously? You've got to open your eyes. Dad's the reason Mom's sick and he's the reason we're stuck here in the States. Easy, Emil. Dad didn't make Mom sick. It's just life throwing us a curveball. But Mom will be all right. Don't worry. Curveball? More like he threw a grenade into our family. He left Mom alone in Germany while he lived it up here. Selfish Steph. Completely selfish. Maybe if he sent more money, Mom wouldn't have gotten so sick. Look, I get you're upset, but let's not exaggerate. Dad has his reasons. You know how young they were when they had you. I guess they just weren't compatible. Mom knew that. Reasons? What reasons? He's just a heartless jerk. You're too blind by him to see it. I'm not blinded, Emil. I just don't want to play the blame game. It won't change anything. You're just letting him off the hook. He ruined everything. Maybe we can talk about this later. I don't want to fight. Whatever, Steph. Just don't act like he's some saint. You'll see. Our parents, despite loving us deeply, had drastically different outlooks on life. Dad, a staunch atheist, believed only in science, while Mom embraced spirituality with tarot readings and psychic practices. Their different views on religion and life choices played a pivotal role in their divorce. Marrying young, they couldn't reconcile their differences. Emil, closer to Mom, embraced her spiritual practices, diving into those rituals and beliefs. I, however, found myself in the middle, practicing yoga and meditation occasionally, but not fully immersing myself in Mom and Emil's spiritual world. Dad, practical and logical, clashed with Emil's spiritual practices, sparking frequent arguments. Emil, resentful of Dad for what he believed was the crushing of Mom's spirit, struggled to find common ground. Caught in the crossfire, I, just a kid, fought with the complexities of my family drama, torn between the two people I loved most. I hoped for a way to bring peace to our home. Little did I know these disagreements were mere precursors to a more significant storm looming on the horizon for our family. Emil's rebellion against Dad escalated, and like most 18-year-olds, he was pushing boundaries. But I'm not gonna lie, Emil was going off the rails. His late-night escapades, fueled by cheap booze and weed, only intensified the fights between him and Dad. It was a really tough time, and just shy of a year into our stay with Dad, Emil dropped a bombshell. He'd gotten some random girl pregnant. Dad had reached his breaking point. Furious, he kicked Emil out, insisting that if he wanted to act like an adult, he'd do it. He kicked him out without a second thought. I remember that night like it was yesterday. It was really hard on me because I wanted our family to stay together, not fall further apart. A year slipped by and Heidi, Emil's daughter, came into the world. Despite the crazy circumstances surrounding her birth, I made it a point to visit Emil, his girlfriend, and sweet Heidi as often as I could. I couldn't resist. She was the cutest baby I'd ever seen. And what's more, she was part of our family. And family meant a lot to me. Tragedy struck around the same time Heidi was born, though. Our mom, the spiritual force who had shaped Emil's beliefs and mine, passed away. The news hit us hard, and we swiftly flew to Germany to attend her funeral and bid her a final farewell. Emil was particularly crushed, as you can imagine. The burden of shame over not sharing the news about his daughter with our mom weighed heavily on him. He barely spoke to her in the past year because he was ashamed and embarrassed at his actions, and the regret was eating at him. Her passing fueled Emil's descent into a dangerous spiral of drugs and alcohol. Both Dad and I were extremely worried about this behavior, especially considering he was a father. The already strained relationship between Emil and Dad worsened, as you can imagine. Emil still held our father responsible for everything that had gone wrong in our mom's life. He even went as far as to blame him for her death. Their fights escalated, and there was even a point when Emil banned our dad from seeing Heidi. It was all so sad and crazy. As I turned 18, I decided it was time to leave Dad's house and venture out on my own. I aimed to carve a path for myself, pursuing a good degree and working part-time to support my endeavors. Life seemed to be on a positive trajectory for me. However, tragedy struck yet again when I turned 18. The news came like a punch to the gut. My dad had gotten into a car accident and was instantly killed. The news hit us like a sledgehammer. We were not doing okay. The death of our dad cast a shadow over both Emil and me. I was taken aback by how deeply Emil was affected by the loss, considering his strained relationship with our father. After the funeral, I approached Emil, sensing that there was more to his grief than met the eye. I asked if he wanted to talk about it, and that's when Emil broke down. Emil sat on the worn-out couch, his shoulders slumped and his eyes red from tears. I joined him, gently placing a hand on his back. "Hey, Em, you want to talk about it?" "I don't even know where to start, Steph. I'm just so angry, and I can't figure out why." "It's okay, Emil. You don't have to have all the answers right now. Just tell me what you're feeling." "I'm mad at Dad, Steph. I'm mad at him for everything. I don't even know why I'm crying. We had such a messed up relationship, and now he's gone." "It's okay to feel angry, Em. Grief is a complex thing. You're allowed to be upset, even if your relationship with Dad was difficult. The loss brings out all sorts of emotions." "I don't get it. We fought so much, and I thought I hated him, but now he's gone, and it feels like this huge weight on my chest." "Sometimes emotions are messy, Em. You're grieving, and it's okay to feel conflicted. It doesn't mean you loved him any less. I wish I could have figured things out with him before he died. I wish I could have told Mom about Heidi, about everything. It's tough, Em. But remember, you're not alone. We're family, and we'll get through this together. And Dad, well, he's at peace now. I just didn't expect it to hurt this much. Grief doesn't follow a script, Em. Take the time you need, and whenever you're ready, we can figure out what comes next together." "Thanks, Steph. I love you. Thanks for everything. For putting up with my crap. For being so strong, even though I'm supposed to be the one protecting you." "Always, Em. We've got each other's backs." With both our parents gone, we found ourselves orphaned, trying to move past the years of turmoil that had haunted our lives. I continued to visit Emil and Heidi regularly, as they were the only family I had left. The journey was incredibly difficult for all of us, but we were determined to support each other and move forward. It had been 5 years since we lost our dad, and life had been going okay for the most part. I was grateful to have already been able to support myself. It sucked not having mom or dad around, but that's just the way life goes, you know. Now at 23, I found myself in the middle of a family celebration. Heidi, my niece, had just wrapped up her 9th birthday party. The house was filled with laughter, cake smears, and the joyous chaos of children. It was lovely. Wanting to lend a helping hand, I offered to help tidy up the house. Emil had to take his now fiancé for a pregnancy checkup, as they were expecting again. I figured it was the least I could do to help, considering he had his hands full. As I gathered plates and discarded wrapping paper, Heidi approached me, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of innocence and curiosity. She tugged at the sleeve of my shirt, pulling me aside from the cleaner. "Auntie Steph, when can I see my grandma?" I paused, caught off guard by the unexpected question. How on earth did she not know about my mom? Didn't Emil tell her? Unfortunately, sweetie, you didn't get a chance to meet your grandma. Now she's gone, and I'm so sorry you didn't get the chance to meet her, but I know that she would have loved you with all her heart." Heidi looked confused. "Well, Grandma told me that she could see me whenever I wanted to." "When did this happen?" "I had a dream last night, and Grandma visited me in my dream. She told me that she loved me and that she wanted me to visit her." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What else did she tell you?" Heidi hesitated for a moment before speaking, as if carefully choosing her words. "She said we need to fix our family, Auntie Steph. She said there's something broken and we can make it right." I couldn't help but feel a chill run down my spine. Dreams were tricky things, but Heidi's words hung in the air. As much as I wanted to dismiss it as a child's imagination, the sincerity in her eyes made me pause. And considering my mother's witchy background, I thought that maybe there was some truth to what Heidi was saying. Emil returned later that evening, his fiancée by his side, the news of a smooth and healthy pregnancy painting smiles on their faces. I decided not to mention Heidi's dream. After all, dreams were just dreams, right? Perhaps Heidi just noticed our messed up family dynamic and saw one picture of her grandma and bam! Conjured up a dream with no actual significance. Those types of things do happen. But as I stayed the night to hang out with Heidi, her words echoed in my mind. There was a part of me that wondered if Grandma, in some mysterious way, had left behind a message for us. Maybe it was time to address the lingering fractures in our family and in some way honor the memory of our parents. A couple of months went by. Life was operating as usual. I was washing the dishes one day when Emil had called me. "Hey, Steph, how are you doing?" "I'm good, Paul. What about you?" "I'm well, thanks. Listen, I've got a big business meeting coming up and I need a huge favor." "No problem. What do you need?" "Well, it's this weekend and I need you to stay over and take care of Heidi. Mia is visiting family up north so that they can see her before she gives birth, and I can't reschedule this meeting. It's important." "Oh, no worries, Emil. I'd be happy to spend the weekend with Heidi. You know I love hanging out with her." "You're a lifesaver, Steph. I'll make sure everything's set up for you. Food's in the fridge and Heidi's bedtime is around 8. Can you make it?" "Absolutely. I'll be there. Just focus on your meeting and I'll take care of Heidi. Anything else I should know?" "Nah, that's about it. Mia should be back Sunday evening, so it's just for the weekend." "Thanks a million, Steph." "No problem, Emil. We'll have a great time. Just knock 'em dead in that meeting of yours." "Will do. Thanks again, Steph. You're the best." The weekend arrived, and so did I, at Emil's house with my duffel. Heidi, of course, started losing her mind when she saw me, knowing that her cool aunt was here and we'd have a blast. Emil left shortly after, giving me full reign of the house, and And we got started on enjoying ourselves in the weekend. We played a bunch of games and even had a little dance party in the living room. It felt good to spend quality time with my niece after so long. Later on in the day, I decided to whip up some snacks for us. As I raided the kitchen for ingredients, I stumbled upon a set of strange-looking glass bottles. They were filled with liquids of different colors, each labeled with strange words that seemed like something out of a fantasy novel. Heidi walked into the kitchen and immediately noticed what I was holding. Before I could ask her, she quickly said, "Those belong to Dad, and he told me not to touch them, so you might get in trouble too." "Oh, please, that man can't do anything to me. Don't tell him I told you that." "But what are these?" Heidi said she didn't know. I found it odd, like stumbling upon a makeshift potion lab in the middle of suburbia. And that's when I remembered Emil's fascination with spirituality and mysticism. I hadn't heard him talk about it in ages, probably because he was knee-deep in his himbo finance bro phase. I figured he'd moved on from that spiritual chapter, so it was a tad bit surprising to see he was still invested. I dismissed it, focusing on the fun we were having. However, throughout the day, Heidi was acting weird, weirder than her usual goofy and silly self. I caught her scribbling strange symbols in her coloring books instead of coloring within the lines, and quietly chanting strange phrases under her breath. It was a bit weird, but considering I grew up with a woman who would do this loudly and proudly on the daily, I wasn't too alarmed. I chalked it up to Emil introducing her to some harmless spiritual practices like mantras and stuff. It was cute. Finally, I couldn't resist asking Heidi about it. We sat down, and I gently asked her if Dad had been teaching her about spirituality. With an eager nod, Heidi said yeah. I decided to let it be. After all, I was in no position to judge Emil's parenting choices as long as Heidi was safe and happy. As the day continued, I couldn't shake the feeling that something unusual was afoot. The vibe in the house had shifted, and a subtle tension hung in the air. Night fell, and after rustling up some mac and cheese, Heidi and I settled down to watch a movie. She must have been tired from all the excitement, because at some point during the film she dozed off. After some time, I scooped her up and carried her to bed. Upon entering Heidi's room, though, I was hit with a foul stench. Honestly, it smelt like hell in there. I tried to pinpoint the source of the stench, but no dice. Eventually, with all my rustling, Heidi woke up and asked me what I was doing. "Sorry, babes, I've been trying to find where that smell is coming from." "What smell?" "You mean you can't smell that?" "Oh, that smell. I got used to it." Heidi casually mentioned that her room just smelled that way ever since her dad put something in her room a couple of weeks ago. My mind immediately raced with thoughts of what Emil might have stashed in there. The weird bottles from the kitchen flashed in my mind, and a strange sense of foreboding settled in. What had Emil been up to, and how did it involve Heidi's room smelling like a mixture of chaos and mystery? Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a night that would unravel more secrets than I bargained for. "Where is it coming from?" Heidi just pointed to her closet, which was tucked away in the corner of the room, and that's when I went towards it and opened it up. In disbelief, I headed straight for Heidi's closet and opened the door. There, tucked away in the back corner, was a white box. Heidi nervously mentioned that she wasn't allowed to open it, and that her dad just put it there for her protection. But the unsettling curiosity got the better of me, and no child should sleep in such awful conditions. I lifted the lid, and there it was, the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. It was a grotesque scene of dead rats covered in guts and some unidentifiable black substance slowly decaying in the box. I almost threw up at the mere sight of it, let alone that horrible smell. The shock hit me like a ton of bricks, and I dropped the box like it was a live grenade. Panicking, I sternly told Heidi to get out of the room. She was naturally curious, wanting to see what was inside, but I insisted she leave immediately. I told her to get the keys and to wait in the car. I needed the moment to process this horror show. The air in the room felt heavy, and I struggled to catch my breath. I felt like I was getting a panic attack. This was beyond bizarre. It was straight out of a nightmare. What the hell, Emil? Overwhelmed and feeling like a ticking time bomb of panic, I managed to snap some pictures as evidence. The reality of the situation was sinking in, and I feared that whatever Emil had gotten involved in was far darker than I could have ever imagined. After the disturbing discovery in Heidi's room, we hastily left Emil's place and made our way to my apartment. Heidi, understandably curious and anxious, asked me questions about why we left home and what was wrong. I reassured her that I would explain everything soon and that we would be staying at my place for the night, or at least until Emil returned from his mysterious business trip. Once I made sure Heidi was occupied, I took a moment to call Emil. He groggily answered, clearly woken up by the abrupt phone call. Trying to keep my composure, I started to explain the horrifying scene in Heidi's room. And that's when Emil's response sent shivers down my spine. He coldly asserted that I had ruined everything. "What's up? Is everything okay?" "Emil, we need to talk. It's about Heidi. I found something in her room, and I'm extremely concerned." "What did you find?" "Cut the crap, Emil. I found a box full of dead rats, covered in some strange crap. What the hell is going on?" I have no idea." "Oh, really? Because she told me that you were the one who put it in her closet and told her not to touch it." "What the hell, Emil? What are you doing?" "You weren't supposed to find that. It's a ritual, Steph. A necessary one." "A ritual? Involving dead rats? Are you out of your mind? She's 9 years old, Emil. This is twisted." "You don't understand, Steph. Heidi has a connection to the spiritual realm. That dream she had months ago, the one where she saw Mom, it's a sign. I'm sure she told you about it." "Emil, this is child abuse. How could you do this to your own daughter?" "It's not like you'd understand. This is beyond your comprehension. Those rats were a conduit for positive energy, a shield against the negative forces that could harm Heidi." "You're delusional, Emil. You don't even know what you're doing. I also grew up with Mom, so let me remind you, we have never done that crap before. What you're doing is harmful, not protective. She's a child, not some experiment for your spiritual nonsense." "Typical. Mom would be so disappointed in you right now." "What are you talking about?" "You always sided with Dad, didn't you? You never understood my beliefs. This is for Heidi's own good." Unable to comprehend the depth of Emil's delusion, I abruptly cut the call. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. My own brother had gone off the deep end, and Heidi was caught in the crossfire. Panic surged through me, and without hesitation I called the police, informing them that my brother had lost his mind and was putting his daughter in harm's way. I was furious. How could he possibly think that he was being a good father by subjecting his daughter to that dangerous crap for weeks? After telling the police everything, I hung up and called Emil back, telling him that I talked to the cops. He wasn't happy, of course, calling me a traitor and asking how I could do that to him. "I'm doing what's necessary to protect Heidi from whatever harm you think you're shielding her from. She's staying with me until this mess is sorted out." "Stephanie, please, you have to understand. I'm doing this for Heidi's sake." "I can't let you continue down this path, Emil. It's not healthy for Heidi, and it's certainly not healthy for you." A couple of days passed since the disturbing incident involving Emil's ritual, and the consequences were catching up with him. Emil had to cut short his work trip, returning home to face the fallout of his actions. The small community had caught wind of the disturbing events, and Emil found himself facing not just embarrassment, but serious legal consequences. I was obviously furious and disappointed with my brother, so I kept my distance from Emil. I couldn't believe what he had done, and I was only scared of what else he could have been doing. The news had spread like wildfire, and even people in the neighborhood were gossiping about the strange ritual involving dead rats. Emil, facing charges of child endangerment, was not only dealing with the legal repercussions, but also with Mia, his fiancée, who was furious and felt betrayed. Mia said she didn't know anything about this, and she was going to leave Emil, taking their kids with her. He kept trying to contact me, but I, however, wasn't ready to listen. I firmly believed that Emil needed professional help and that his actions were indicative of a deeper issue. In my eyes, he wasn't fit to be around Heidi, Mia, or the unborn baby until he sought the necessary mental health support.